Well, today on the workbench, I have, this is an Intermountain EC44 DC. And what we are going to do is, I have a Tsnumai2 digital sound decoder. This is item number 885014 for GE diesel motors. And I also have, this is a 28mm Soundtrax speaker that Soundtrax recommends for this board. It's 810153. So we'll tear into this and see what we can do to it. Hopefully this won't be a hard install, and we'll see what happens. Let's see, now the first thing that we'll have to do is remove the couplers so we can get the body off. Always helps to have a pair of pliers around to pull these screws out. Pull that coupler box right out. And I believe those are KDs. So we'll pull this front one out. Let's see. I may have to remove the snow plow on this. Let's see if I can pull it out the back. Well, I don't think I can. I think I can remove that. There we go. Snow plow come right off. Trying not to mess up any of the detail on this thing. It is a really nice locomotive. Let's see, what am I catching? I'm catching on the MU hose. Got an air line there. Oh, it's got a long one in the front. Okay, well, sometimes things just fly apart, but it did come out. So now let's see. Well, maybe I wouldn't have had it taken them off. Let's see. Well, there's one of my handrails came off. Trying to be really, really careful with this. I was hoping I could get away without, yeah, I don't want to pull it off the sill like that. I like to pull the whole body off. Well, I'll just see if I can pull it off of the sill. That's going to pop the handrail. Well, it's always something. I don't see what that is catching on at all. Yeah, that needs to come off and leave that sill on there. Okay, let's see. Let's drop back and punt here. I am going to pull all these handrails off and see what that'll let me do. See if I can't get this blade up under here. Pry everything off real gently. Some of those will just pop right out. Others won't. Okay. There's that. There's always what? So now let's flip this around. We'll do the same to the other side. I'm filming with a different camera this time. It's actually a Galaxy S7. Just thought I'd give it a try. The only downfall to that is I have to have the camera, the way I've got it, horizontal, or laying flat basically, and I can't see the screen. So let's see now. I wonder if that one is. Those top ones are like the other one. They are. If I get this on and off without breaking it, I will be amazed. So there's my Fireman side. All right, now let's see. I'm hoping. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, let's set that aside. And what I think I'll do right now is, let's see, let's take a look at the underneath this body here. When I first pulled this off, I thought there wasn't any place for a speaker back here, but if you'll notice, right in here, right there, that is a speaker mount. Pull this fan shroud off. Got the light there. But right there you can see there is a speaker mount for that 28mm speaker. So that'll make that really easy to install. We'll just lay that off to the side. We'll do that here after a while. I guess the next thing to do, let's see, I've got a handrail here that I am going to remove before I break it. So lay that down there, flip that back over. So what we have, motor wires. I am going to have to find a wiring diagram for this. But I know this board will, that board will mount right to that. So I can see if I can unplug this. That way, it's a good thing every one of those is the same. So HLBL function 6, function 6. It's a positive, function 5. I wonder if these are labeled back here. Might be easier with a pair of pliers to pull these out. Yep. I just want to pull one of these off and okay, there's my track. Actually, I think I might be able to lift that up right there. Well, I can't read what it says. Let's see if I can read that one. Well, I can't read that one either. But I do know this is the track. So one of them's got to be the motor. Actually, I'd say they're both motor. Or not both motor, but pickups. Well, no, that's wrong. That is wrong. Oh, okay. This is, the center one is track. So this one would have to be to the motor. Trying to pull out. I'll end up breaking that or pulling that out of there. See, that one's, there's a pickup, track pickup, that's a function wire back to the rear lights. This is another function wire back to the rear light. So that's my red and brown. Yeah, okay, those two are the center ones, are the motor. And this will be track pickup from the front set of trucks. Okay, that makes sense. So let's, well, those things are not easy to unplug. Be nice if I could get in there with something. That one. It definitely didn't want to go anywhere. So that's my other track, that's the front. And those won't be too hard to trace back. Okay. There's that. So I have everything unplugged. I need to cut that. That way I can take that board out. And I'll be able to put that one in. This board just has 4 Phillips screws in it to hold that down. That out. Lay those off to the side. That'll sit right back there. Okay. So we've got, this is our motor. I don't have a current keeper for it. I thought about getting one and I didn't do it. I can always add that in later. So we've got our motor, current keeper. Let's see. Let me see if I can point this out. This tab is our front left rail pickup, headlight. This is the positive side of the headlight. This is our front right rail pickup. And then we've got our speakers, positive and negative. This is our functions, F3, F4, F5, F6, and this is V1. Now that, let's see, common terminal For 1.5 volt incandescent bulbs, connect the headlight leads to the 1.5 volt common terminal V1. Okay, so that's what that is. And this has LEDs in it. So this tab I will not use. Then we'll come on back. We've got our, this is our rear rail pickup off of the truck. Positive for the rear light, negative for the rear light, and then our left side pickup on the track. So, alright. This is a fairly straightforward install. Just takes a minute to kind of look at things and see what goes where and what we got to do. I'll put one screw in here. I don't want to tighten that down until I get another one started. Helps if you start them straight. There's that one. I should dig out a little shorter screwdriver. It feels like I've got my hand right in the camera. So I'll apologize for that. Okay, so we've got our board mounted. So what I'll end up doing is I'll cut these I'll cut the clips off. My red will of course go here. This will be yellow. And then the front, this is the front one, be the same thing. Except my yellow will be on this side, my red will be on this side. So we can get that plugged right in. And then the motor will plug right in, or not plug in, I'll end up cutting the plug off. And that'll go there. I do need to figure out what my positive and negative is. Of course, if I don't have it right, I can always change a CV, but I hate to change the CVs. I like to wire it up right the first time. Well, maybe not the first time, but at least have it wired up right. These two wires are coming from our rear pickups on for the track, and they'll go in one in each corner. And then this red and yellow wire will go up here. So I'll have to cut these factory clips off. So let's get started with our wiring. So what I'll do, I'll probably leave these just a little long, that way I'll have something in the clip there, or in the plug, if I ever need to reuse that plug for anything. Of course, I do have the JST connectors I can take and redo the plugs. So, get my wire strippers. I will take in just a little bit on each side there. Then I'll go ahead and tin these. I'll do both pickups here at one time. Let me cut this little zip tie off. Yep. Come out of there. Okay, there's that. So all right, cut this. And I'll just kind of go slow here, and what I'll end up doing probably after I get these connected, before I do any of the lights, I may go ahead and test it to see if I have power and if it'll move. So now I'll go ahead and I'll put some flux on here. Flux the wires, flux the board. This is no different than any other decoder. A little bit of flux. Some flux on the wires. That'll get that all cleaned up. Set that off to the side. Close up our flux. Got the soldering gun, it's already heated up. I got my solder out. In case you're curious about solder, this is Kester solder. And I can't find the number on it. The number's on the bottom. So right there is the solder that I'm using. So our soldering gun out. And let's clean that tip off just a little bit. Okay. A little bit there. That's all it takes, is just a touch on those wires. That one, we'll get that one. All right. Well, pull this over here, and of course everything would be right there in the way. So let's heat this up. Get that out of the way. What we got to do is touch it. of wires there. That. And I'd already pre-tinned those back wires. So, let's see, what do we got? My red. Get that soldered down. Get that yellow one out from that mess there. Okay, and I always do give them just a little bit of a tug. So there's that. Okay, now I'll be able to go and hook the motor up here. Put that away. And these are our motor wires, and the motor goes on the side up here. Right in here, we've got our motor negative and our motor positive. Now, if I remember that right, and I'll get out another paper here. Okay, so I've got my two wires coming off the motor. The engineer's side of the motor is the positive side. So we'll go our red here and our yellow on this side. Now I could, well, let's see, I can run that under. Yeah, I'll run that under that board. So cut off, and we'll cut that off right there. That'll give us plenty. I'll go ahead and strip these before I route them. That. Okay, now we'll break out our flux again. Flux on the board. Some flux on the wires. Close that back up so I don't spill any of it. And for my flux I use a liquid flux. This is the Kester 186. Keep that tip clean. So now we'll go ahead and touch that. touch that. And you can go ahead and heat that up. Heat that one up. Okay. Now we'll route our wires under the board. And I think I will use a little pair of pliers here. Actually, I can take that and I'll put it right in that hole. And we'll touch that. That was the negative side. Get that up there. We'll touch that. So there we have got our motor. Right now in this condition we could run this locomotive. So actually I can take and what do I got? Red is my positive that both hook to, and that will be, so this red wire coming out of this plug that goes back to our rear light and to our front light is the positive for the front and rear headlights. So that will hook to, well actually, well it's the common for the other functions too. So what I can do, I can cut those red out, and the front will hook here, the rear will hook here. So I'll go ahead and do that. Leave myself just a little extra back there. Back there, a little there. Flux up our wires. And so our red is our positive. Our red goes right there, but first I will tin the wires. Again, a lot of repetition with these decoders. Which that's why it makes it easy to install. So now tin my pads back here. Not very good with my left hand, but give this a shot. There's that. Okay, there's our pickups on our power for the rear. Our lights. So now we can move on to the front. We go ahead and our front should be of course the red will be the positive on that. So I'll go ahead and cut it. And then our blue that'll be the other side of our headlight. And then we'll just have our yellow and two blacks, and those should be the ditch lights. So let's go ahead, strip this. That'll be our negative side. Strip our red, break out the flux, drop there, a little drop there, there, and there. Back to the soldering iron, clean the tip. In the tip. One wire down, two down. Get everything out of the way so don't burn anything. That tinned up. Run that underneath there. And we'll get it flattened out first. That one. And grab my pliers so I can pull this through. Kind of weave in and out there. I want to strip that off just to cut that off a little shorter. to the flux. Okay, now we're ready to put that on. All right, so now these three wires, I'm gonna have to figure them out. That's just all there is to that. I think I know what they are. But I am not real sure. What I think is that red, or the yellow I mean, is a positive up there on that board. And then for our functions, because we have to have a positive function wire. So these two black ones are negative for the functions, and I'll put them on 3 and 4. And then our yellow, I can actually take the yellow and I should be able, I can run it right here to my red. So let's do that. Hopefully that is long enough. Those blacks are just going to be long enough to get over to that. What I may do, I may snake them under that board and stick them up through the hole. That'll give me that much more room for them. So let me try that. And we'll see what happens. Made that yellow one so long. Okay. So we'll strip this back to the stripping wires and stripping flux. So all right, let's flux up our wires. And then we'll put some flux again on the board, and we're going to use functions 3 and 4. Well, 10 our tip, 10 our wire. There's that. So we'll go ahead and connect this one. If I can get it down on there. there's that. Now, just for the sake of looks, well, before I go into the looks part, let's tin our board. Now we will go, and I think that I'll pull this up. It'll be easier for me to thread that wire through there. I'll be able to run them right behind that screw and right alongside that. Yeah. Get my screwdriver. There's the one I want. Actually, that's not the one I want. Let's see. Break out this one again. I thought I'd use a shorter one, that way my hand wouldn't be right up in the camera. But that'll get it. Have to loosen this side. That way I can run those underneath. And do a little flip there. If I get that in that well, come on. It should not be that hard. So there's one, and I am going to solder it. Okay, that should be that one. Now, let me just test that. Okay. We'll get this one up through here. Easier said than done. Okay, now we'll just put a little bit of, touch it with the heat. All right. Now that is everything but the speaker hooked up. Get that little bit of excess off. Oh, I didn't get that soldered. Bend that over a little bit. Now it's in there. All right. Now everything is hooked up. So now before I hook the speaker up, I will test that out. Okay, well, when I set this on the test track, I actually had power on it and had the lights turned on, my in reverse, or my reverse lights. And what I never thought about it, this does have LEDs in it, but I should have put a resistor in line with that. So I burned up one of the lights, and I've taken this apart. So this is the rear board that has, actually I've already taken the light off of this too, but right here, right in here, that is an LED. Well, there's an LED that's supposed to go right there, a little surface mount LED, and I let the magic smoke out of it. Now, luckily, well, I say luckily, I probably shouldn't, because it's on the front. Of course, I didn't have a resistor up here, so I have burnt out the front headlight. And now the lucky part of this is it has two surface mounts on the bottom, and they're for the ditch lights. So I actually had them hooked up in the wrong place. I've got them hooked up over here to functions 3 and F4, or F3 and F4. And that is incorrect. They should be on F5. Or no, wait a minute. I'm telling you wrong. They should be F6 is what they should be. So the ditch lights need to come back in here for F6, and they'll need a resistor on it. I'm going to put a 1,000 ohm resistor on it. That's one of the biggest ones I have, and if that works and it's not bright enough, I can always drop it down, because I've got some smaller resistors. So I'll get one of those and we'll try it and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to back this off a little bit. This is a 2,000 ohm resistor. So I'll start with 2000. I'd rather have more resistance than not enough. So we'll go ahead and cut this down a little bit. And we'll go back to our soldering process, and we'll end up taking our wires off of F3 and F4. Move that out of the way a little bit. I'm going to have to cut that side down. So get that. There's that. Put that in there. Alright, so basically I'm kind of starting over, and so I should have paid a little more attention to what was going on. So this is live and learn. We'll get our flux out. We got to flux this. Okay, there's that. I do have some LEDs that I may be able to repair that with. If not, I'll just see if I can get a hold of Intermountain and maybe be able to buy that board. Okay, so there's that. That's that side. We'll leave that in there for a second. And we'll zoom back down on that. Okay. So, well, actually, won't do me good to work on that board. I need to take these functions off of here, off this side. Now I know you can't really see anything right there, but basically all I'm doing is pulling those wires off of those functions. And now I'll flip this back over. What I'll end up doing with these, we'll solder them both together and put that resistor on that. Cut me a piece of heat shrink. That way I'll be able to cover that up. It's a good connection. Let's see. I seem to be, and I do this all the time, you ever get in your own way? I get in my own way all the time. Okay. there's that. Glad I didn't put that screw back in there. Hopefully. I'll try this. See if it works. Okay. Put some heat on that. Alright, we've got that sealed up. Now, I will I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. I think you can see what I'm doing there. I'll flux this other side up. And really I shouldn't have probably put that heat shrink on there yet. So there's that. Now, we'll take and bend that up so I can run that up underneath that board. Put our wires back under the board. Get under there. All right. And now, I said those were F6. Now I could really run that off of any function. I was just going off of what the old board was. So F6 was those ditch lights on there. And F5 is the, or was, the light boards, number boards. So since I've got 3 and 4 soldered and tinned, I am going to go back with that. I knew that was too easy. Well, maybe I should do that. Alright, I have that on function 3 now, and I am going to, I know you can't see that, but I've got that resistor tucked under that board nice and neat. Okay, so there's that. Now, and the other thing with that is I have my yellow in the wrong place. On the old board it was F5, so it should come over to F4 now. So I will unhook that. And see how I can do this. Just a touch is all it takes. So I'm going to have to add a piece of wire to that. And I know I've got some wire laying around here somewhere that I can use for that. Of course, now the bed thing, I don't have any quite that gauge, so I think, and I really hate to do it, but I think I'll take another color wire and, well, actually, before I do that, I'm going to try this again with that resistor in line. So we'll see what happens now. Okay, now I haven't turned this on. You're going to be right here with me when I do. Now I'll plug the power up. Now that blue light just means that the board has power. So let me get my controller here. This is on my NCE system, and so you can see I've got that in reverse. Let me change direction here. Okay, so you can see the motor's turning. I'll shut that off. Now the way I've got that, I have it hooked up to function 3. Function 3 on this decoder is F24. So let's see what we've got. Alright, 2000 ohm resistor, works charms on that. So that will be our ditch lights. Okay, now let's see, go back, we'll turn them off. I'm glad I didn't go with the 1000 ohm. So, because that will be probably a little duller once you, because that board has to, oh, there, I think I just shorted it out. Let's see. Okay, that still works. It's kind of delicate, so I'm going to take the power off of that. But at least we had a successful test. Now when I hook that front one up, I'll put another 2000 ohm resistor in line with it for the number boards. And I'll put see if I can find a surface mount for the rear. Put a 2000 ohm resistor on it. So, live and learn. Okay, so now I'm back again here. I've taken it off the test stand. I've got another 2000 ohm resistor, and I am going to put this one on my, let's see now, what did I say? The yellow wire was function 5, or F5, which is the number boards. So we'll go ahead and solder that up. Break out the flux again. Soldering iron still hot. Tin that up a little bit. And okay, there's that soldered in. Now, I want to cut a piece of heat shrink. I don't claim to be perfect at these installs. Never have. Never will. Seems like I learn something every time I do one. Of course, this is a Soundtrax board, and I've put some Soundtrax sound car boards in, but this is the first Soundtrax decoder that I have attempted. Boy, that's just barely hanging on there. Try it again. Pull my heat shrink back. And then I will put this I will cut that off, and instead of using, since I don't have any of that gauge wire, I am going to, oh wait a minute, I do have some of that gauge wire. So, and I'm going to put this on function 4, so that down. Instead of working on that over top of the decoder, we'll bring it out here to the side. I do have some of that wire, so I'll strip that back to the flux. To the flux the wire up. Clean the tip off. Tin the resistor. piece of heat shrink. You know, it doesn't matter how many mistakes I make doing this. I still consider this, I'll say therapeutic. Because when you start in on this, at least for me, I don't think about anything else. Yeah, that's a good thing. So, okay. Now I just need to cut that to length. Let's see, what can I use there? That'll be up here. I don't need a whole lot, but give myself a little bit extra. That way it'll be easier to slide up underneath that hole. Break out the flux again. Tin that up. We'll get that over here. Run it back under. That goes up there. And I'll eventually, well, I'll just put it under there right now. Yep, I have to thread it through. Easier said than done. Let's put a little kink in that. Like shoot and pull with a rope. Yep. No need to fight it. There's that. As long as I have it on that side, we'll be good. screw all the way out there. Okay. Function 4. I am going to hold that up. I say that. Okay. So now I can tuck that under. That out of the way. Put my lid back on. All right. Get everything back in place where we think it needs to be. So that'll lay down. My motor wire came off. So I'll have to put that back in. All right. A couple of screws started in this. So there's that. Now I need to solder that, and I've got one more screw to put in. Let's see. Get my pliers. Okay, got that on there. So my motor's on. My number boards should work now with the resistor in there. Everything's away from the drive shaft. I am going to have to put a resistor on this back one. And the front one is gone. It's burnt up. I'm going to have to find 2 lights. Or get a new board. One of the 2. So there's that. I'm going to put 1 screw in that. Just to keep it from moving all over the place. And then I'll test that front light. So I've got that board put down on there. Now I'm going to put it back on the test track here. Alright, I've moved it back over to the test track. I'm going to put the power on that again. There you can see we've got power. We've got forward motion. And I used F4 for that one. Well, I hooked it up to function 4. Function 4 is F25. So now we're back to the NCE system. We're moving forward. We'll go and hit, there's our ditch lights. So let me turn those off. And then we'll go back and we'll go to F25. And I must have burnt that one out too. I bet I did. Yeah, because I had that. Okay, yeah, that is burnt out. So I'll have to replace that light. Just for giggles, let me turn that off. Let me hit my headlight, and we'll see if we can let the rest of the smoke out of it. Actually, let me put a resistor on that. I may still have some life left in that thing. So, if that's the case, I won't have to replace that one. Okay, so now I didn't show, or I didn't film, but the red wire here, I did put a 2000 ohm resistor on it. So that light that was fading a minute ago, I think it was LED 2 up here. I'll put the power back on the track, which you can see the power, and we still have forward motion. So let's go to our functions, which was F24 and F25. So F24, there's our ditch lights. Let me turn that off. And then we'll go to F25. And I must have burned it out the last time. Oh well. Because I have nothing on it now. So, okay, I'm going to have to replace some lights. Wait a minute. Let me see something. Okay. Yep. That function did. Oh, wait a minute. Oop. That was my headlight. So I've still got a headlight. All right. Headlight and ditch lights. Okay, so off camera here, I went ahead and I put the light covers back on where the headlights. So I've got a headlight and ditch lights that work. I've removed the other LED for the number boards, and back here on the back I have taken and removed the rear light. So I don't have any bulbs. I thought I had some small bulbs that size. I have this size, if you can see that. I think these are the Picos. I can't remember, I'd have to look. But they're about 4 or 5 times smaller than what is actually in there. So I've put that back together. I'll order some new bulbs. I still need to put a resistor back in here. That way that'll work. It'll run like that. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put the speaker in, and you can stick around for that. I'll bring that back over. So now we determined that when we took the shell off, that there is speaker mount right there under the radiator, or under the fan shroud. And I've got this this is a Soundtrax speaker, 28mm speaker. It's 8 ohm. It's there's the part number, 810153. You can see it's got the polarity on there, which I'll need that. So I'll lay that off to the side. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in just like that. Now, for right now, I am going to take and put it in there like that. I'll kind of straighten that up, get these terminals lined up with the slots. But I'm just going to set it here like this. We'll hook it up, and then I want to test it to see what it sounds like. I may end up turning it over. I really like to leave it setting down in there like that, and if it works out real well, I'll put some RTV around the top of it to seal it up. So let me go get some wire and we'll solder this in, solder it to the board, and see what it sounds like. Okay, now I like to film all this stuff so that you can see what I'm doing in case you have questions, but I didn't think you needed to see me strip wire, flux wire, and solder wire to these two terminals. So I've got you back on now. I still need to strip some wire and do some more fluxing. Okay, so more stripping wire, more fluxing, more soldering. So I've got my negative and my positive on my speaker hooked up. So I'll move you over to the little test bench again, and we'll set it up, see how it sounds. Okay, I've got it back on the test track, just got the body loosely fitted on there. Got the speaker hooked up, and we'll see. So we do have sound. That's the startup sequence. Okay, let's see. Now I know we've got our headlight. There's our headlight. Let's see, now our ditch lights worked. So let's, they are really faint, but they do work. You can see that go on and off. Okay. I may end up having to change those resistors out. Alright. But it does seem like it has a good sound. Well, let's move it forward a little bit. You hear it start to ramp up there. Let's try the horn. My bell. Let me get my list of functions here. Well, let's see. We know that our backup light doesn't work. Our bell worked. Our horn worked. And that will sound better once I install that speaker correctly. 4 is our dynamic brake. Okay. F5, RPM and engine shutdown. Let's see what F5 does here. So that shuts our engine down. We're still moving, but we're shut down. F6. Well, let's see, what do we got here? Well, I've shut it down and now it won't come back up. Why don't I have any sound? That's the F5 button. Yep, no horn, no anything. Evidently you got to hit the F8 button to bring it back on. So okay, it's running through its startup sequence again. Like I say, this is just a test. We'll figure it out eventually. F9. F9 is a grade crossing. F11 is the independent brake. F12 is the brake select. Well, let's see if we got some cab chatter here. Yeah, we do, but you can just barely hear it. How about, F23, all aboard. Oop. Ah, well. That might be for the steam. Anyway, let's try F17. That's the fuel loading. Which wouldn't be loading while you were sitting there. But anyway, yeah, F10. Actually, that's the independent brake. That's F11. That's straight to 8. So we're going to notch 8 on that. So I think that'll have some fairly good sound to it. Once we get it all buttoned up, we get our lights to working. So but at least we do have some light. It does have a dimmer on the light. Let's see what that does. Okay. Maybe I'll use the 2000 on the number boards. Alright. Well, until we get some more lights, I believe I am done with this for now. Okay. We're back here. On the left off there, we'd already burned up a couple of LEDs. And I got my LEDs in. Got 50 of them. And these are really cheap. I think for 50 of them, it was $4, give or take. And really surprised me. I think I ordered them, it was like 2 days they came in. So the other thing we were going to do was change these 2000 ohm resistors out, especially for the front light, and I'll put a 2000 ohm in on the front light, and I'll put a 2000 ohm in on this rear light. So, but this, if you can see that, try to lay it up there, that's the new LED, that's the bottom of it. So hopefully I can get this, and there's the top. Hopefully I can get this soldered onto this board with no major trouble anyway. So let's see, let's start on this rear light. hoping this won't be any problem. But you can see that's where I pulled the old one off. I am going to take and put one of the screws in this thing just to just so it will be solid and I won't have to fight it. Okay. So another pair of tweezers out. I think that will work. Now, on the back of these, I should have showed you that when I flipped it over, before I flipped it over. You can see that little green triangle right there. Well, if you can see it, I think I've got this zoomed in so far. Try and scoot it over. There's a little green triangle, and it is pointing there at the end of my pointer. That's kind of grainy, the picture is, but that will be toward the negative side. So when I put it on the board, this is the negative side. So that will be pointing that way. But first, I'm going to put a little flux on that. That way it'll be able to take solder. I think I got it on there. Let's try it one more time. And that got it. And that will sit on there just like that. I've got it stuck to my finger and twisted it around. All right, that should sit right there. Now we'll try and get it soldered into place. Get this tip cleaned off. I need to get my magnifier out so I can see that. Okay. So I've got my solder on it. Now I need to put my resistor in, and it goes on the positive side. And that is that wire. Yeah. Okay. Well, probably should have had this ready. Oh, don't want to use those. Oh, wait a minute, that is it. Okay, never mind. So what I'm doing, that you can't see, is more flux, more solder. One side. Okay, there's that. Heat shrink. Always the heat shrink. And I do have one on the front to replace too, so. Get that there. Okay, let's cut that off just a little more, since it'll be through that board. Okay. Well, wouldn't you know it? All right, I'll get that shrunk down on there. now we'll see if that'll work. Let me set up my little test track here, and we'll see if we can blow a LED bulb. Alright, I've got this sitting on a little piece of test track, and I've got my NCE system hooked up. So right now I'm going to put the power to it, and alright, so we've got sound. Now let's see if, and you can see we have power there. These Soundtrax boards have a little, it does have a good sound to it though, and it is loud. I'll have to adjust some CVs. That's the front headlight. Well, let's see what we have here. Yep. Either the resistor's too big. I'm not sure what it is. But I don't have anything. Back to the drawing board. Okay, I'm back again, and you saw that the light didn't work the first time. Well, I went back and I looked at it, and it's so small I had to turn the camera off to get into it. So what I ended up doing, it was on the board right, it was just that the positive side wasn't soldered in. Okay, so then I got that on, and I had the resistor in there, the 1000 ohm resistor. That was too much. It did work, but it was really dull. So now I went and put a 470 ohm resistor in, and now let me hook the power up and you can see what it does. Now that's that'll give me a really good light. So the front two for the ditch lights and the headlight, I'll take and put 470 ohm resistors on those. So I think I'm going to have to do that off camera. Alright, I've started working on this CSX ES44 DC. I'd kind of got away from it for a little bit, had some other things to do. But when I was working on it last time, I burnt up, shorted out actually, the rear board, one of the LEDs, and I melted the LED. I didn't short the board out, but I melted the LED, and I've got it off of the board right there. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the very bottom one down here. But anyway, so what I did, I emailed Intermountain to see if I could get a new board, and they have never responded to that email. So what I have done, I don't know if you can see it or not, and I did take a picture of it while I was making it, but it was this rear board here for the rear light. So what I did, I made a new one for it, and it is similar to this one up front here, this white plate. Now, in addition to the white plate up front here that sits on top of it, And the way these lights work in this locomotive is you have your headlight and your number boards are two separate channels, and you can see them right there. And then it also has ditch lights, and they have channels underneath. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start making a new board for the front. So, because the way the original board is, the ditch lights are combined and they won't flash. So I want to separate them and get them to flash. And I bought these are LEDs, SM1200s, and I believe they are 3mm. And these are cheap. The $5 for 50 of them, I think, is what I paid for these. So I just wire them up, solder my leads to them myself, and it's not hard. Now they are tiny, and I'll see if I can't get some of that in this video. That'll make it a little different than some of the other videos that I have. And I've already got this plate marked. Let's see. Yeah, you really can't see that on the camera, but I have the locations marked for the lights. So what I'll do is go ahead and take this board off, and I'm not going to show this whole process because it is time consuming and very tedious. So, but I just wanted to explain what I've done, or what I'm going to do with this. So when I come back, I should have all 4 lights on it, and it'll be ready to wire in. Now I am going to try to show this process of soldering leads to this small LED. This is a number 0 Phillips screwdriver. Or for a little better reference, this is a 0.5 millimeter pencil. And that is the LED that we're going to be soldering. So let me go ahead. I'm going to just touch this with some flux on each side. Okay. Now, right at the end of that blade, there's an arrow. And that arrow indicates the negative side of that LED. So now, what I'm going to do right now is tin that wire, or that end of that. So get this out here, and hopefully you'll be able to see that. Okay, there's one side. And there's the other side. Okay, now I've already got my wires tinned. Bend it down a little bit. We'll just touch that right there. And the same. This is rather difficult trying to well, I'm gonna have to turn that around. That way I can go across from the top again. Okay. Jumped out on me. Okay. Now we'll do the same to this one. Get it on there. All right. There's that. So now I'll go ahead and I'll do the rest of these and then we'll get back. Okay, so now so far what I have two LEDs. These are going to be my ditch lights. I have them mounted upside down in that board, and I'll kind of see if I can move over here, and this will just set. You can see the two, there's two channels, one there for the ditch lights, and that'll set right down on top of those. So that's how that's going to work. Okay, I've got the board made for what it is. It's 4 SM1200 LEDs. They're like 3 millimeters long. So here's one for a ditch light, and I've got one over there in the corner, and then one's the headlight and one is the number boards. So I've got everything in place. Going to let it dry there a little bit, and then I can go ahead and I can hook up this rat's nest of wires. So that's where we're at right now.